Hey guys, and good morning. It is it's almost noon, um, September 4th, 2018. This is Kyle, aka Vulcan Wolverine. Uh, Feeling generally really bad. Just a horrible headache. I feel so stiff up my neck and my head. Um, but there were some things that in my last video, and it was really long, but I didn't get to them. And I kind of wanted to go over those things today, maybe just kind of a wrap up type thing. Some things that I really want to show you. And I'm saying a lot, so um. But this is from the same video, the interview with Romola D and Suzie Dawson. Kind of wanted to go through because I cut it short of the long segment where she's talking to targeted individuals and kind of giving some advice and talking about some really important things. So I kind of want to go back to that first, and then go over a couple more things after that. Kind of just keep stacking up the proof that this is going on from experts and documents.
It means that they aren't just studying the physical effects, they're studying the psychological effects. And it's the same people who are in charge of both elements of that. So here we go. So when you spend your time reading through WikiLeaks files like that.
So she's still going through those WikiLeaks documents. And remember, please watch this interview because a lot of things she says are very, very important. She's still going through the WikiLeaks document and proves that she found, that there's research and development going on with non-lethal weapons technologies, especially directed energy weapon systems, in these market reports. There's definite proof that they've had to experiment and still are experimenting with this weaponry, on U.S. citizens and citizens around the world. Now, I know that some people, comment and they say the experimentation is over. They perfected it, and they know the nervous system and the brain, and so it's just torturing and destroying lives. Um, I think that we have to realize with this, and I think I've said this before, nothing in this targeting and abuse of directed energy weapon systems is really an either or thing. There are many, many different angles, and this is a huge topic. We've got to stop thinking either or, because when it comes to the military industrial complex and new technologies, they are researching and developing these advanced technologies, directed energy weapon systems. They're doing experimentation on the nervous system and the brain. They are also using it for this to feed the surveillance state. If they can attack us with directed energy weapons, make us look crazy, and then we get gang stalked, and we kind of feed these DHS fusion centers and mass surveillance. They're making money off of that too, and they're learning how to destroy people's lives. That's experimentation also. How fast can we destroy a person's life? What kind of crazy things can we get them to believe? What can we get them to do? That's also what I mean when I say experimentation too. But I don't think anything, really about this is an either or. Like, this is all, it's all for population control, or it's all for experimentation. There's just many, many different reasons why, the military industrial complex, Air Force, and, all these people in the pyramid are doing chemtrails. There's tons of different reasons why they're using directed energy weapons on the brains and the nervous systems and the bodies of innocent citizens all over the world. So I just kind of want to throw that in there because I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, it's not experimentation, stuff like that. Um, they're doing this for a lot of different reasons. Consumer products, making consumer products out of frequencies, military advancements in the weapons so that they can communicate with V2K and things like that. Um, just generally making the weapons smaller and advancing that. Experimenting with neuroweapons and neurotoxins and chemical agents, microbiologicals, seeing how those work together on certain targeted individuals. So, this either or paradigm. We got to get out of that. I think that's been with any kind of truth movement. I don't really want to call us a truth movement because we're really just citizens who are being experimented on and tortured and killed by directed energy weapons, and we're really just fighting for our lives. We want people to know that this is happening because it's going to happen to them. These weapons are, it's a lottery system where anybody, so I wouldn't really say we're like a true in the truth community, but I guess we kind of are anyway. Even though we don't really want it, we just want people to know that this is for real and stop it. Um, but I think that's a problem in a lot of, like, the 9/11 truther community. It's like people are, it's either this or it's either that, and they don't get together on what they agree on. That there are questions with 9/11, and there are people who planned it. It was an inside job and everything like that. So we've got to come together on, we know we're being hit with weapons. There's probably a lot of different reasons they're doing this. It's destroying lives, destroying our bodies, destroying my mind. Probably y'all can tell. I probably look very tired. Um, but let her continue, because I'm not feeling that great today, and I probably don't sound that great. But
can you honestly sit here and tell me?
And I guess the video is freezing up. That's nice. And I'll guarantee that's my attackers right there.
WikiLeaks is a limited hangout operation. Julian Assange is a limited hangout operation. WikiLeaks says nothing about Israel. Can you sit here and say these talking points to me with a straight face, having just studied and read what we have just read in the WikiLeaks files?
I guess there are people who say that, right? Yeah. I don't know who they are, but I think I've heard them.
Well, I've been seeing it. I saw it throughout the activist community and the particularly privacy and information activist community. There was a massive, massive push to make them, to discredit Julian, to discredit WikiLeaks. But recently, very recently, I have been seeing exactly the same narratives being seeded in the targeted individual community and in the truther community about WikiLeaks and Julian that I'd been seeing in the previous years seeded across the privacy and the information activist community. So these are talking points. WikiLeaks doesn't publish on Israel. WikiLeaks doesn't believe in 9/11. These are talking points that are seeded. They're seeded here, there, and everywhere to discredit them. But when you actually study the files, you learn the true story yourself.
That's absolutely fascinating. And I have to say, just looking at these files and looking at these emails, I mean, the question does arise, why has this not been covered at all? Even by alt media, forget mainstream media. Of course, they're not going to touch any of this. They're too busy lying. But what about some of the other big alt media outfits, the ones...
I want to stop it right now. And that's what I'm going to try and find a lot of examples, because we have that a lot now. We have a lot of people who are not directly targeted, really getting interested in this topic and really getting the information out. I showed y'all Dana Lash yesterday. There's somebody else. The scariest movie ever. He does a lot about people hearing voices and stuff like that, and nanotechnology and things like that. So alternative media is starting to pick this up a lot, which is super, super hopeful, because they're getting like, a million views, like hundreds of thousands to a million views about this subject. And I also want to show y'all, after this, I think it may be over with the stuff that I really wanted to highlight, but I do want to just listen to it for a couple more minutes, because I think she gives some more advice to target individuals.
So do appreciate what WikiLeaks is finding. How come nobody's covered this?
That's a really good question.
When did you write this article, if you don't mind my asking? Do you have a date on it?
I wrote it in middle of 2016. It's a year and a half old.
It's a year and a half old.
I wrote it a year and a half ago.
I would have certainly appreciated knowing about it. It just did not cross my desk.
We actually went through this. We went through this in one of our Decipher episodes because there was TIs in there also in the chat, and they were asking about directed energy weapons. And one of the TIs in the chat said, I have been waiting years for this. I have waited years of my life for the evidence that you are showing me right now.
Yeah, I do think it's pretty bombshell too. And, you know, maybe it's the same person who kind of sent links to all of us and said, check this out, check out this article. And I thought it had come out yesterday, you know, and I looked at it and I thought, oh, this is really interesting. And I went on the Vision Gain website, and you're right that that report is mentioned over there, and it's as expensive as ever. And obviously I can't, you know, go in and look at it. But I was looking at the WikiLeaks email references and thinking, okay, I need to figure out how to get into those emails. I'd like to read them.
It's really simple, and this is what we have to teach TIs, okay? You guys who are in chat, I'm not here to convince you that I'm real or that my story is real or that anything else or that WikiLeaks is real. You can work it out for yourself. All you have to do is go to WikiLeaks and type in keywords and read what comes up. You don't believe that they care about 9/11, type 9/11 and press enter. You don't believe that they report on Israel, type Israel and press enter. You know, you don't believe, and you think I might be a bit strange or a bit fishy or a bit suspicious, go and read my journalism. Go read the articles that I write, click on the source links and the documents that I use to evidence my writing. Read what I write. You don't have to like think I talk well or look good or something. These things are irrelevant. They're completely irrelevant to the truth. You don't have to believe what I tell you, just yourself. Go to the website and find it out. The information is sitting there. WikiLeaks has 10 million documents. They don't know what's in there themselves. They can't read 10 million documents. We have to, of our own volition, read the documents and the files and find out what is in them. But believe me, once you've done that, you will read people saying stuff about WikiLeaks and you will just laugh at them. You'll just laugh because it's so ridiculous to say, you know, they don't care about Israel. Like, you'll just laugh. There's how many 100,000 documents? I mean, look, I'm just going to show you what I mean right now.
Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the most brilliant messages of this evening, Suzie, that you can present to everybody in the world, not just those who are being targeted. Pretty much anybody out there who can be a citizen journalist, right, today, by just going into the WikiLeaks
app. Nothing I've done that other people can't do, honest to God. Okay, so I've just typed in Israel and I pressed enter. And now I press search. And we get 343,029 documents just in the GI files, which is the structure leak. We get 65,000 from the +D, 25,000 references from the Kissinger cable, 17,293 from Cablegate. This is the Chelsea Manning leaks of diplomatic cables. These 17,293 will nearly all be classified communications between diplomats. So there's a very high likelihood that this selection here will return specific classified information about Israeli diplomats. And on it goes. Nearly 5,000 just in hacking team emails, another 5,000 in the general search for hacker team. So Syria files, 2,051 results in relating to the Syria files. Podesta emails, 1,400 from the DNC leaks, another 1,200 from the Clinton emails. So this is what I mean by you'll laugh when you see this, and then you listen to people say WikiLeaks doesn't publish about Israel. Same thing about Russia. You type in Russia and press enter. There's like 700,000 results. 700,000 results.
This is absolutely stunning. I think you've just sort of empowered whole legions of journalists out there right now by just pointing to what they can do.
I really, really, really hope so, because this is really my message to you: is you guys can't rely on other people. It's no good to get on Twitter and yell at Chris Hayes, MSNBC, why aren't you covering this? You would be better off spending that 30 seconds reading a WikiLeaks document than you would be tweeting at Chris Hayes, because I'm telling you, Chris Hayes doesn't care.
I want to stop it on that point. And I think this is important, you know, like documentation on directed energy weapon systems and the contractors and the history of microwave weapons and, you know, the Cuban embassy attack, the China consulate, and all this, the evidence is very important. But I've kind of focused on this about her talking about what we need to be doing. This is really important because I see a lot of people who are super intelligent, like in the comment sections on, you know, videos that target individuals have made, not just mine, but other ones, and they're like, well, you should have done this, and you should have talked about this, and why didn't you talk about this? Or, you know, I don't like the way that you talked about this or this. And not a lot of people do that to me, a couple, but you know, the people who watch my videos, I really appreciate you guys, and you're very positive and only give positive criticism. But the point she's making is important. The time spent to comment on that or be like, well, you did this or you didn't talk about this, you could be making a video about those things that you think are missing. You know, because this is a huge topic. So like another target individual might see a whole nother angle to this, have documentation about stuff that I'm missing because there's so much stuff. Rather than say we should talk about that. Well, I want you guys to be like, hey, you know, I think you should talk about this, definitely. But to criticize people for not covering stuff, you'd be better off just covering it yourself, making a video, you know, writing a blog. I would just say, you know, making a video, even if you don't want to show your face on YouTube. Even if you use a computer voice or something like that, you don't want your voice to be heard, you can just, you know, do a certain background and, you know, get the program that can do the computer voice and just go through documents that you think are important. So I think what she's saying is really important. You know, in the people who are making videos and getting information out there, it's based off of, you know, our experiences, and then where our experiences took us in our research, somebody else, their experiences, and what is hardest for them going through all of this, where that research leads them. So, you know, this is where my research and the proof and the documentation, where my you know, my situation led me, and somebody else may, you know, want to focus mostly on gang stalking. Maybe they don't really have that big of a problem with the directed energy weapons. I don't know. I don't meet many target individuals who just have a problem with gang stalking, but that may just rip you apart. Your gang stalking may be just mine's pretty horrifying, but I tend to just ignore it. It's a lot of vehicular stalking and stuff like that. And now that I realize that the people are just really dumb and uninformed, it's bad, but I can ignore it. But some other people, it may just, you know, that may be the thing that hurts you the most. So that's the kind of, you know, research that you do. I'm also going to be putting stuff about DHS fusion centers and InfraGard, but you know, you guys know what I'm saying. This is a huge landscape topic where, you know, NSA is involved, DH fusion centers are involved. DHS fusion centers are involved, InfraGard, FBI is involved, you know, with the gang stalking surveillance side of it. And then there's, you know, the DoD with these third-party contractors, the stuff that DARPA is, you know, doing research on, universities and hospitals with the directed energy weapons and certain microbiologicals and chemical attacks. You know, so it's just a wide range of topics. We need everybody kind of getting in there and talking about everything and covering everything, because this ain't just a either or. Look, you know, like, well, let me stop there and kind of finish up with
these people don't care. If they are not covering it, they either don't
care
or they can't care.
They can't care, exactly.
Yeah, so you really need to assess, how are you spending your mental energy? You know, just yelling at other people. I understand people, the TIs are angry, that they're hurt, that they're lashing out. I totally understand it, but it doesn't advance their cause. To advance the cause, they must empower themselves through information. They must spread information.
That's brilliant. And
So,
you know, Susie, that brings up, no, thank you for doing that. Thank you for taking us through all of it. But that really brings up the question, how did you get onto this? How did you start doing Decipher You? Did you just think about this yourself? You wanted to do something on your own? You wanted to kind of...
I had a niggling feeling for quite a long time that the documents that Snowden leaked might contain more information than what had been reported by the big outlets.
Great thinking.
And that kind of set on I was dealing with so much other stuff, it actually took me a really long time to actually get ahead and do it. I mean, the first batch, even now I still haven't finished them. We've only done four batches. I think we're on batch 5 now. We're about to begin batch 5 this week. It's not easy task to go through hundreds and hundreds of documents, but it's a really, really important one. And it has completely transformed the way that I see the world. It has changed absolutely everything.
And the Snowden files, where are you getting them again? Are you getting them from WikiLeaks?
No, the Snowden files are batch released by the Intercept. So, and this is a really interesting thing actually that people have not realized. Yes, the Intercept is funded by Pierre, who's a billionaire. Yes, Pierre has rotten, stinking connections to all kinds of nasty things. But if the Intercept, if Glenn was not legit, they would never have batch released these files that I'm using to find this information. The batch releases are a gift to the public. They're a gift. And when you read what is in these Snowden files,
that he would write about
it is impossible to ever think that Snowden is not legit because the seriousness of what's in them. Just while we're debunking talking points that are used to discredit them, you hear all the time about Snowden. Well, he leaked documents on the NSA. He leaked documents on the NSA, but he didn't leak documents on the CIA. He didn't leak documents on the DIA. Therefore, he must be a CIA agent who is discrediting the NSA. Well, when we started reading through these documents, the first thing we discovered
is that
there is operation.
There's interview and kind of listen to it, because it's been about 20 minutes. She said most of the important stuff that that I got out of the interview and that I wanted y'all to hear. But you can go and listen to the whole thing. Amazingly smart, both of these women, and she's getting out a lot of good information. I'm trying to think what I want to go to now. Okay, yeah, I think I'm going to go to the most important stuff. I can't get to, this is the History Channel website, and this is Season 1, Episode 7. It aired on August 31st, 2018. I click play and it says like unauthorized user or whatever, and I signed up with my Uverse account and everything, but I still can't watch it. I think this looks like Zachary Quinto is talking to what's his name? Oh gosh, I just forgot it. I have an article here. James Walbert, but I heard that this is like just a great this is a great documentary on mind control. And see, it says he meets with a victim who was surgically implanted with electronic harassment device. So please check that out. I was thinking if I could get the video file, I would just put it up on my channel. I think that's like breaking copyright laws, or breaking the copyright rules of the channel, but I'm not sure if that puts a strike against you. So if I can find it, I think I'm going to put it up, and I think all they can do is just just erase the video or whatever. But I'm trying. I heard it's really awesome. So I think he's talking to James Walbert there, and so I was looking up James Walbert. And I found a great article, just more proof, because this was actually, James Walbert was involved in a huge court ruling for the person that was actually doing the electronic torture to cease and desist. So I want to go ahead and read this article. This is from Wired Magazine. David Hamling wrote it in 2009, all the way, I think that's wait, was that July 2009? Court to defendant, stop blasting that man's mind. Late last year, James Walbert went to court to stop his former business associate from blasting him with mind-altering electromagnetic radiation. Walbert told the Sedgwick County, Kansas panel that Jeremiah Redford threatened him with jolts of radiation after disagreement over a business deal. Later, Walbert said he began feeling electric shock sensations, hearing electronically generated tones, and getting popping and ringing sounds in his ears. On December 30th, the court decided in Walbert's favor and issued a first of its kind order of protection, banning Redford from using electronic means to further harass Walbert. No, seriously. That's what the article says. No, seriously. I recently took part in a BBC Radio 4 program which took a lighthearted look into the real Manchurian candidate and examined whether there is any truth in stories of mind control. It gave me a chance to talk about exotic, non-lethal weapon concepts like the so-called telepathic ray gun, the system which beams sound directly into your skull, and the voice of God talking fireball. It seems like they put a bunch of terms in there to really discredit what they're talking about. Telepathic ray gun, talking fireball, and things like that. So you can kind of tell what this article is doing. But this is some good proof still. Most of these projects are just lab experiments or examples of PowerPoint engineering, but in some legal, policy, and business circles, electromagnetic brain assaults are being taken seriously, and they should, because it's murdering a lot of people, me and my family included. And that was my editorialization right there. Walbert's cause is supported by Jim Guest, a Republican member of the Missouri House of Representatives. He's working on proposed legislation to address electronic harassment, including a bill against the forced implantation of RFID chips. The UN is also now taking the possibility of electromagnetic terrorism against people seriously. And for the first time, this year's European Symposium on Non-Lethal Weapons included a session on the social implications of non-lethal weapons, with specific reference to privacy invasion, invasive remote interrogation, and behavioral influence applications, which sounds about right. You know, it's trauma-based behavioral influence applications, invasive remote interrogation with Chatterbox V2K, and then remote neural monitoring. Those who believe they are being targeted are getting a bit of official recognition. We should get it. We should get the murder of us and our families stopped because we're innocent citizens. So it should be stopped. If this doesn't sound logical to anybody who's watched my videos, then maybe, stop taking crazy pills, because like when people are being murdered, they shouldn't be murdered if they're innocent. So we should stop that in our society. Maybe, yeah. For some, this opens up a new business opportunity. There are already quite a few companies out there offering technical surveillance countermeasures or sweeps to determine if you are a victim of electronic harassment. As well, detecting the usual bugging devices, they can check if you are being covertly bombarded by microwaves, which may be the cause of headache, eye irritation, dizziness, nausea, skin rash, facial swelling, weakness, fatigue, pain in joints and or muscles, or buzzing and ringing in ears. Much of this trade may come from people with symptoms caused by something less exotic than high-tech military hardware, but companies will no doubt be willing to sell them expensive protection measures anyway. And as awareness of these developing technology projects increases, we are likely to be hearing a lot more about electronic harassment, gang stalking, and the like over the next few years. Yeah, I mean, we're going to be hearing a lot about it because a lot of people are being murdered by it in our society, and more get pulled in because they're running this research and development and experimentation with a business mindset of making more money, of getting more money from the DoD, or if a different country, whatever their version of the DoD is, and all these contractors, some of them international contractors. So cooking people to death and destroying their lives like a business, more and more get pulled in we will be hearing a lot more about it. What I said the other night to somebody, I said, you know, they're being a little bit negative. I understand. I understand this is huge and it's like really corrupt. But the truth is, we're not negotiating if this is going to be found out and stopped. We're negotiating a timeline. Like, we're not negotiating, is this ever going to be known in our society? This is the truth. People are being murdered with this technology. People will know about this technology eventually. What we're doing is target individuals and people being murdered by this now. We're negotiating when. We're not negotiating if, you know, and that's what I have in my head. So, you know, write in the comments if you feel differently. I know there are a lot of people who are very depressed and very kind of just like, you know, this is just going to get worse. We're never going to be able to stop it. I don't feel that way. I feel like, I mean, yeah, my personal situation sucks right now. I'm like having problems just talking because my head just feels like it's being crushed in and cooked. Um, but I see it logically as this isn't something. You know, I know a lot of people, maybe in the UFO community, they're like, you know, well, why hasn't that come out yet? But and some of that is still questioned, even though there's some proof of, like, you know, advanced aircraft and stuff like that. But our situation, it's happening in every community, in every city in the world. It's hurting people and families in every community. So it's not something that's like, does this exist? And it's not really affecting a ton of people in every community, and it's kind of still hidden and still there's speculation about it. This is a different situation, you know, and I really see that logically. So I hope a lot of you guys do too. And just seeing all the, you know, all the awareness coming out, and you know, the new news stories, which I'm going to go over some other mainstream news that is picking up on the attacks in Cuba and China, the prime suspect being microwave. So we're seeing some awesome stuff. Um, and there's also likely to be what folklorists call ostension, or acting out. Now that there are so many websites explaining how easy it is to harass people by zapping them with a modified microwave oven, sooner or later someone is bound to try it. There are a lot of third-party contractors, you know, doing this, using microwave weapons, but not necessarily just opening a microwave oven and using the parts from that. More sophisticated, you know, over the horizon radar and, you know, satellite weapons that go to cell towers and then us. So, all right. So now, guys, and bear with me. I'm saying a lot. Like, my head just feels all dried out and cooked. I just wanted to go to, what did I want to go to here? Okay, I wanted to go to CNN first. And I mean, y'all tell me there's no God when you see this. Microwave suspected in sonic attacks on U.S. diplomats in Cuba and China, scientists say. This is CNN. This is CNN. They have a hard time just, you know, telling the truth about what's happening every day in normal things. I mean, this is amazing. They're saying, you know, they're saying microwaves are the prime suspect. And I do want to show. I'm not going to go through the whole article because it's like basically like the article from the New York Times. But I do want to go. I want to go to this video right here. I think there's going to be an advertisement first. Okay, it's not playing. Hold on. Okay, I may not be able to play that. Let's see. Here we go. No, that's not what I want to play. Hold on, guys. Sorry about this. Let's It's like the advertisements take over and just infest the computer. Alright, I guess I'll go to the next one. They had a pretty good little short clip of some like some pundits talking about it, you know, talking about the Cuban attacks. My computer's not going to play it, so I'll go ahead and play this one, and we'll see what this one's like. We'll go through a long advertisement.
What are you doing?
For it.
Taking a selfie. Get it?
Yeah, I got it.
A fridge with an extra cubic foot of space. Another way we make good things for life.
Used in Cuba is now believed to have been used to attack more American diplomats more seriously than initially known. The U.S. State Department says at least 16 Americans have suffered symptoms and some have suffered brain injuries. Some of the attacks were inaudible, while others made a deafening sound described as similar to the buzzing of an insect swarm or perhaps metal scraping across a floor. CNN's Michelle Kosinski is at the U.S. State Department for us. And Michelle, does the U.S. know precisely who is behind this?
Hi, Jake. Not at this point. Multiple U.S. agencies are still investigating. We're told that the Cubans have been responsive, but they vehemently deny having anything to do with this. The U.S., though, isn't ruling anything out. And the details, some of which you mentioned, are strange. I mean, this may have happened while diplomats slept. There are Canadian diplomats who think they were also affected. Some reported noises.
It's interesting because on the other interview, she was also, so she's from the State Department, and she was in the other interview about the mystery that it was. And so now CNN, the Huffington Post, they're all coming out and saying that, you know, the prime suspect is microwaves. It's just interesting that she's like the primary person they get for interviews about this. She's with the State Department. So I'm gonna look her up. I don't.
Others didn't. And if the agencies are still investigating, we're told that the Cubans have been responsive, but they vehemently deny having anything to do with this. The U.S., though, isn't ruling anything out. And the details, some of which you mentioned, are strange. I mean, this may have happened while diplomats slept. There are Canadian diplomats who think they were also affected. Some reported noises, others didn't. And if this was an attack, as U.S. officials have now more than once described it, what this weapon would even have been is all part of this extremely disturbing mystery.
The symptoms started being reported in November by at least 16 American diplomats and family members in Cuba, according to the State Department, at a time when relations had been thawing and long-standing harassment of U.S. diplomats there had stopped. There was nausea, dizziness, headaches, but also permanent hearing loss, and perhaps most alarming, mild traumatic brain injuries, concussions. U.S. officials tell CNN they believe a sophisticated device operating outside the range of human hearing could have been placed inside or outside the diplomats' homes. A sonic weapon? Sound waves to incapacitate people are used today. LRAD is a technology that directs high decibel sound at people, making them feel dizzy and sick. It's used as crowd control in Israel and the U.S. It's used on ships to deter pirates, but that's audible sound. In the Cuba incidents, some diplomats did report hearing loud noises like a screech or buzz at times. That could be very similar to an LRAD, which can also be small and easy to move. But in other cases, no unusual sounds reported.
And it's interesting, guys, like how in these they show the devices on like vehicles and stuff, and that's on purpose, you know, because as a lot of us as target individuals know, well, I know this from my research that it's like, you know, you can have a magnetron or like a device that actually directs microwaves on a cell tower. And it can go through a satellite to a cell tower, and then there doesn't have to be a vehicle nearby or anything like that. However, you know, there are devices they can put in vans and point at people, but this is a lot more sophisticated, and we live on such a grid with wind towers and cell towers and things like that that can direct these frequencies. It can direct electromagnetic frequencies that are in the range of microwave or extremely low frequency sound like that, and it's on a grid system. It doesn't necessarily have to be a ground weapon or something on a huge vehicle. So it's interesting how they're kind of steering people that don't know about this, because I mean people know that some people call cell towers death towers, because they have small devices. If you look at my video or go to any interviews with Richard Lighthouse, he understands these devices within transmitters on cell towers. So it's just interesting how they frame it, and they keep showing the big vehicles with things like that, because then it's like it kind of steers people away. But they're getting closer. Now the articles are saying microwaves are the prime suspect. And when these came out, like, and I have to tell people that are not TIs, I don't know how many watch my videos, but when this came out, the Cuban attacks and the China consulate attacks, every target individual knew what it was, because we've experienced those same exact effects, and we said, this is microwaves, this is directed energy weapons, and yet the news lagged behind, and everybody's like, oh, this is a big mystery and stuff like that. I really respect Marco Rubio, because it seems like he was maybe I think Tom Cotton and John Corbin or something like that. I don't know the other guy's name, but they actually did look into microwaves. So I really respect Marco Rubio for doing that. They might have gotten somewhere with that Senate investigative committee had the Parkland shooting not happened, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they would have just said, well, this is primarily what it could have been, and kept the investigation going or something. But it seems like it's getting somewhere now. These main news outlets, CNN, Huffington Post, the New York Times, they're saying it was microwave. So now the next thing, this is the question that I have, and you guys know what I'm doing. I'm just putting a bunch of documented proof out. I will talk about my experiences too, but I'm kind of even getting sick of talking about this stuff. Like, I feel like crap today. This has been a pretty crappy video because I feel so crappy. But what I ask myself is, I'm like, okay, so people know now. People know, it's in the mainstream news, that they know that microwaves were used in the Cuban embassy attack and the China consulate attack, and I think in Uzbekistan there was an incident too. But a friend on a conference call the other night, he's being kind of I sometimes get negative, so I'm not criticizing him, but he said, well, people are just going to think that it happens to embassy workers and important people. They still won't believe that it's like that they're experimenting on normal citizens. So what we've got to ask ourselves now is, how do we connect the dots here? How do we prove to people? And y'all know what I believe. I believe a lot more people know that this is happening than don't. And we just, we're kind of in the dark on who knows and who doesn't, because the mainstream media is kind of dragging its feet on purpose on this stuff because of national security concerns and stuff like that. But it's like, we've got to ask ourselves, okay, so we've got this huge puzzle piece. Microwaves were used in the Cuban embassy attack and the China consulate attacks. People know that now. Now, how do we connect the dots to let them know, to make sure that they know for a fact that research is being done? It should be obvious. I understand that. Like, it's the logical conclusion is, if these weapons are being used, then they had to, they had to have and still have to be using them on average citizens to practice all these protocols and psychological operations for when they want to do it to somebody important. They need to run these protocols, learn about the brain and the nervous system, make these weapons smaller and stuff like that. So logically, people should know, but we've got to think of some creative ways to really connect the dots, as if we were talking to maybe some 3-year-olds, because a lot of people, and I'm not insulting people who are not directly targeted. There's a lot of people that come onto YouTube and study things, and they're very smart and they pick stuff up really quick. There's a lot of people who don't really get on the internet and don't look at alternative media at all, and we're going to have to find a way to kind of to get them to know that this, because they know this now, because a lot of those people who kind of have a hard time realizing the truth about the world, they do believe mainstream media. And so we can you know, I guess hitch our, try and get more awareness out of what the mainstream media has done here. And hopefully they'll take it further. But let me go ahead and finish this video.
Wrote The Imagineers of War on U.S. weapons research that has included sound beyond the range of hearing.
The problem that that you find in the literature, the published literature on this, is when they've tested weapons. You know, an acoustic bazooka is one that they tested. It doesn't have the same effects on, well, in this case, on animals. So it's not an effective weapon in that sense.
People can be badly harmed, though, by both powerful low and high frequency sound waves that you can't hear, with effects similar to what the diplomats experienced.
So you don't know how long you've been hearing it or how loud these noises are. And then if you get constant exposure to these noises, you're going to have permanent damage in your ear as well as in your brain.
But, Jake, there are reasons why there is no known weaponized use of these.
Oh, I gotta hear this. I guess it's just gonna freeze up completely. Let's see.
Frequencies that the ear can't hear. If it's very low frequency, you'd likely need to have something really big to produce it. That's not very stealth. If it's very...
Okay, so she's saying if there's something very low frequency, there's gonna need something very big to produce it. Now that is a straight up lie. Like, and I've heard that in other news articles. They're saying there has to be some huge device if it's gonna produce low frequency waves. Like, where are they getting that? They're making that up. They're making that up because a lot of this is propaganda, and they're trying to mislead people into not realizing that a lot of people are being hit with it, and there are very compact weapons, and the grid, our own grid, cell towers, satellites, drones, are used to propagate microwaves in low frequencies. They want people picturing in their heads, they want them picturing it has to be a huge vehicle and a huge dish to shoot this out, which is just incredibly wrong. Everybody, factually, 100%, that's incredibly wrong. It's a lie. There's no scientific basis for what she just said. There's nothing scientific that says the device has to be big to produce a microwave frequency. That's pulled out of people's butts. But let's continue. She's kind of good looking.
Very high frequency, you could get ultrasound devices, but you'd likely have to be able to direct them, likely at very close range with a clear shot at the person. That's causing a lot of skepticism among multiple experts we talked to today. They think that this likely has more to do with listening devices that are, of course, very likely to have been put inside these diplomats' homes.
Okay,
Jake?
So what they're doing here, and I see what they're doing here, actually, guys. I just wanted to show y'all the article of CNN saying...
Let's go.
Okay. I just wanted to show y'all kind of the, microwave suspected in sonic attacks on U.S. diplomats in Cuba and China. That was a video from before when they were still saying it was a mystery. But what they were doing is saying, that's unbelievable, because to create some kind of low frequency or whatever, or sonic, it would have to be a huge device, which is just a lie, has no scientific basis, and it's just made up. And then they're directing people to listening devices, and if some listening devices made certain sounds together, then it could create some kind of magical high-pitched sound that could hurt somebody. Now that's the conspiracy theory we see in mainstream news. Mainstream news puts out the conspiracy theory, and people like me, and well, I don't think a lot of people are calling us crazy anymore, but I'm sure some still do. We're considered the conspiracy theorists when we're just telling the truth. So that's the upside down thing of our society. Yet, with all that upside downness of the mainstream media being like retarded and evil, they still had to say it's microwaves. They still had to say it. So it's a huge for us, targeted individuals, huge for us, because they realize it's coming out too much. People aren't as stupid as they think. And, non-TIs, targeted individuals, let's take a lot of credit we're not dumb like people in the mainstream media think. So, you know, thank God for that. Because if we were, I don't think we'd be able to feed ourselves. You know, if they expected us to, and I'm getting really snarky here, guys, so I'm going to kind of stop in a second, but we wouldn't be able to even feed ourselves if we had the intelligence level of what, you know, Project Mockingbird reporters and people who are, you know, mandated not to put out any real issues that are direct dangers to citizens would have us believe. So, you know, I can breathe and feed myself, so I'm smart enough to know that a lot of stuff they put out is just horse crap. All right, guys, I got kind of snarky there. I'm kind of agitated, and I'm being attacked very heavily right now in the head and the eyes and stuff like that. So I am going to kind of wrap it up, guys. I just wanted to finish that interview with Suzie Dawson. She says a lot of important stuff, you know. So please go watch that. I also want to I want to go to the, where is it? Where did I put that? Thought I pulled that up. Okay, here it is. I just wanted to show you all the Huffington Post. You know, microwave weapons could be the culprit behind the mysterious U.S. embassy attacks. So, New York Times put it out, New York Post put it out, and now all mainstream media is picking it up. We should see, you know, the mainstream networks now it's in the mainstream, so we should see CNN, Fox, and MSNBC. You know, go. Oh, I can't think of words right now. I'm doing really bad. We should see them continuing this story of microwaves being the main culprit in this. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how they're letting this happen, but let's capitalize on it. Let's capitalize on it. Any openings we find, capitalize on it. So several experts agree the unorthodox weapons are a prime suspect, the New York Times reported. So they're going off the New York Times, you know, report. And I think you know, if anybody has like a DVR, any targeted individuals or non-targeted individuals have DVR, and you can get maybe something on CNN, you happen to catch it on CNN or MSNBC or Fox, you know, please email it to me if you can. If you can get a video file or something like that, I'll be looking for more video files on the internet about it. But I guess we should kind of be ready for that story coming out on, you know, on cable. I don't have cable, so I'm not going to be able to watch it. There was something else important that I wanted to say that I completely forgot. My brain is just so fried today, guys. Thanks for bearing with me. And I'm gonna start. I think today I'm gonna get Dave Case's CD and just listen to it all day. I didn't listen to it last night. I kind of fell asleep on my leather chair, and you know, so I have a little bit more of the high pitched ringing sound in my ears, and kind of just a heat all around my head. My neck right here. I'm getting there's like a stream of heat coming to the back of my head while I make these videos. Yesterday it was, and I have the same shirt on from yesterday, but yesterday it was a stream of heat coming into my eyes. So, and oh, okay, actually before I end this, guys, I did want to answer a question from the comments that somebody asked the other day. And I wanted to answer it on one of my last videos, but I never got to it. And I may go through some more of the comments. Thanks for all the comments, guys. Okay, this isn't it. It's another one. I wish I would have had this stuff ready. Maybe it was, man. Okay, I guess I didn't have it pulled up. Oh, here it is. Okay. I wanted to answer James Lyco's question, because we have a constant conversation. So James Lyco a week ago, and this is my video from What was this? Target individuals, Voice to Skull, Robert Duncan, and Edge of Wonder. This is from August 24th. And he left a comment. We kind of always have this conversation. So James Lyko says, you say that the sheriff department owns the apartment above you and no one is there so casually. Why, if you are a TI, ooh, I didn't know he said it like that. Why, if you, would they not use it to attack you? Oh, he's saying why, if you are a TI, would they not use it to attack you? One thing they would do is train people using you. Sociopaths don't leave money on the table. Food for thought. And I appreciate your comment, James. And like, usually what I say, because I've moved like 6 times during this, and the attacks stay the same. The attacks stay the same. I get some noise campaigns from my neighbors and stuff like that. But the protocol of the attacks. Now, when I moved out of the house, the voices have changed 3 times. They've been modified 3 times. There's about 2 or 3 people per shift or whatever, and then there's automated chatterbox they're using. But when I moved to another place, like I was living in a condo across the way that my parents now have, so when they come into town, they can visit. The attacks were the same. The noises from above were the same. And from all information that I have right now, because I've knocked on the door upstairs, I've knocked on the door upstairs and nobody's come, and I don't see anybody coming in or out. The sheriff department, I called them. They actually repoed it from a guy who was not paying, and they're gonna sell it at an auction or whatever. I don't know 100%, but from all the information that I have, I'm hearing some of the same voices, like a voice to skull, that I heard in my last condo from above me, that I heard in this condo. Now, I do get noise campaigns from the neighbors, like they do synchronized noise campaigns, but my feeling and my experiences are telling me that I'm getting hit remotely, because it's the same kind of attacks everywhere I moved, and I moved a lot. Like I say this, there are ground weapons in certain protocols. They're going to supplement with ground weapons, but the 24-hour-a-day stuff, I believe, and my research shows that stuff is coming remotely from like a cell tower or a drone or something like that. I say in all probability, when you're getting hit, it's probably remote, with maybe your neighbors supplementing with ground weapons. Now, they may be doing a noise campaign to psyop you into believing that they're shooting you with weapons. They may not even know that they're doing that, but they may be synchronizing, and then your attackers that are hitting you remotely are synchronizing with their movement or something like that. That's how deceitful this stuff gets. Now, James has the another view. He says most of the time it's probably your neighbors, and he doesn't see why it isn't. And so we kind of have this discussion. Now, I'm not 100% sure. They could be very, very covert, and they could be above me, and I find out that I'm wrong, but I'm about 90% sure right now that it sounds from above me, like footsteps, like a chair moving. They did a knocking sound when I was doing this video just a second ago, and it came from right there. But there's nobody, from all knowledge that I have, there's nobody living at the place above me. Now, I may find out that I'm wrong, but I just want to clarify that. And I'm not, just like Suzie Dawson saying, this is kind of a good example. I'm taking things from my experience, my research. You guys out there, you target individuals, your situations. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong about something. I do want to say there's an example of this. I went to work one day, and I worked, a couple of times. I've gone to work a couple of times at Dream Day Foundation when I worked for my mom. And there's an attic up in the top, but you have to get into the attic from the office, like from the office that I went to work in. And I heard somebody walking around up there. It was noise to skull. It sounds directional. It sounds like it's happening in the position that it's happening in, but it's actually your perception of hearing. They are doing a microwave hearing effect, and then you're perceiving that you hear something like footsteps in that actual location, but it's your perception of hearing. That's like right now I'm hearing voice to skull. It's from the left. It sounds like it's coming from my left wall or behind it. So there's a direction in an area where it's perceived from. Now, I'm not saying there aren't ground weapons. I'm not saying that ground weapons aren't used. I think that my neighbor, my ex-Army neighbor, when I lived in the house, did supplementally hit me, with ground weapons. But we've got to use common sense. If they have the capability to, through a satellite from a cell tower, hit somebody with microwaves, position them, triangulate, and hit a target, why are they going to be passing out a bunch of weapons or forcing a neighbor to do it 24 hours a day, to hold it on their shoulder 24 hours a day? Now, maybe somebody, Brian too says that, your attackers could be in the same, like my attackers could be in the condo, with the remote platform doing this. I don't think so, because it's been like I've moved around the city into different places and it's always been the same. I think there's somewhere in the city, maybe a couple miles away or something like that, maybe in an office building, maybe in a house. But it's like we've all got to kind of say what are we experiencing? What has our research shown? And I just think I agree with Richard Lighthouse. In all probability, when you're getting hit, it's probably remote, because that's the cheapest way they can do it, and it's a lot of plausible deniability, and they're not counting on some dumb neighbor to not get caught with this stuff. If they could do that, why would they get some neighbor who's not really trained and hand them a bunch of weapons so that they could maybe screw up and get them caught? I don't know. That's my research. That's what I've experienced. I've moved, like, let's see, from that apartment. So I moved 1, 2, 3, 4 times during when I knew I was being targeted. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. 5 times. And it's always been the same. It's always been the same strength, pretty much. I mean, up and down, up and down. But it's always been the same protocol. The same modified voices on V2K. So I mean, I appreciate your comments, James. We talk about this a lot. We just have a difference of what we've researched and what we believe is happening. And I do believe there's ground weapons. I think there's a chance that my neighbor right there could be supplementing with ground weapons. But the 24-hour a day bidirectional stream of energy, even some external hits, they can hit you remotely. I mean, they've got the technology and they've got the grid set up to hit people with ELF and microwave frequencies remotely. So I just don't think they're just passing this out to every neighbor. Now, I think that they would use a neighbor to psyop the shit out of you, to like psyop and make it like make movement in a certain place and then immediately hit you with a remote signal so that you line up those two incidences and say, it's definitely my neighbor. I believe that is a huge protocol because I've experienced that in almost every place that I've lived. Now that's hugely complicated, and the deceit involved in this, it's hardcore deceit. But that's what I've learned in this. I mean, that's what I've experienced and learned, and where my research has led me to. And then I just put in my common sense, and I'm like, are they just going to be handing out a bunch of different weapons to my neighbors who don't really know about this before I move in? Now there's other situations where they move people in way before. I do believe some people get hit a lot with ground weapons. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying in my case, I'm pretty sure it's remote, because when I go out in my car and I have nobody around, I'm getting hit kind of the same as I'm getting hit in my condo. Everywhere I go. On an airplane, I got hit in the chest, and I had V2K on the airplane. So it's obviously something remote in my case. Now, for James, I can't say 100% sure. James, if you maybe are getting hit by your neighbors, if you leave your house and stuff and you aren't getting hit and you aren't feeling anything, then you come back and they have gotten your neighbors to hit you, or maybe they've given them the remote platforms in their places. But I'm just speaking from my experience and my research, and I think it's something that we should discuss more. We should discuss it you know, obviously very civilized. I know that this is our lives. We're talking about, you know, life and death. So we just need to discuss it civilly. We need to pick things that we agree on and move forward, and get more proof. Like, we need to get more proof exactly the protocols and, you know, what they do most of the time. We just need to keep getting proof, and we'll find this stuff. We'll find definitive proof of how they do this eventually. You know, and we've got a lot of experts saying, you know, talking about, you know, satellite to cell tower and things like that. You know, we've got proof that mobile weapons do exist, like, you know, handheld weapons do exist, and people do use those supplementally. So we've got a lot of proof, but I think we'll get more. You know, we'll keep getting more proof and be able to say, well, most of the time it's this, and most of the time it's that, and maybe in a certain country it's more this or more that. And so we've just got to keep getting proof. But I'm pretty sure, unless they are just like so covertly just not, you know, no light in the windows ever when I go walk my dog, nobody answers the door. I never see anybody come out there. I'm gonna inquire more. I might be wrong. You know, they could have put some transceiver or something in their condo. I don't know exactly the extent of how. Well, I know that these people are very insane when they're attacking us. So I know they're very, very insane, but I don't know the extent of if they can hit you remotely, and you're moving a lot, like I'm moving a lot. So they kind of gone to a remote protocol with me. Somebody else may be in the same house for years and years and years, and they're like, well, we'll put some ground weapons near them because they're maybe not moving. You know, I think there's all these differences in people's situations and what's used more on them. I do, however, think that all of us as targeted individuals are getting a 24-hour a day remote bidirectional stream of energy to our head. I do believe we're all being remote neural monitored, and maybe not remote neural manipulated, but I do believe they're at least remote neural monitoring every target individual. I even kind of think they're remote neural manipulating every target individual. But there's so many different situations out there. So I'm just going to try and get more documentation out, guys. Like, I appreciate all y'all's comments. And I felt like shit today, so I probably shouldn't even made a video. But it's good just getting the information out. And I'll kind of, you know, I'll look into some more stuff. And, you know, everybody pay attention to the news right now and how they're coming out with microwaves, and let's maybe contact them and say, well, can y'all go back and maybe do some stories about targeted individuals. All right, guys, I love y'all. Thanks for bearing with me today. You know, and I'll see you on the next one.